startup ecosystem, what the idea is that you have to learn how to pitch your idea clearly and concisely. And once you learn how to do that, then you can bring in all the stakeholders and you can get into programs that'll help you and train you on how to build it. But that first step is you have to design a business model that is desirable.
When I initially moved back to Pensacola, I had a meeting with Lloyd. Lloyd invited me for breakfast and I was telling him, man, I still have an idea for the entertainment industry. This is what I wanted to do. He was like, all right, I got Startup on the Blocks. So I need you to start coming to Startup on the Blocks and get a little more information on how to work through the tech ecosystem and take your idea and we'll get you where you need to go. My company is called The Know, is an app that is streamlining business for the entertainment industry. Yeah, so if you're a musician, what you would do is pretty much jump on the platform, you'll create a profile, but the way we created the profile is pretty much a cleaner way. So now if they want more information about you, you'll connect your social media platforms, your streaming platforms, and that way they can go directly to it. What we also have included is your calendar. So pretty much you can set your days, you can set your price for your days and automate your booking. So initially talking to Lloyd, my idea was all here, it was there, it was over here, it was over there. It was like, all right, Quinn, I get it. You got a lot that you want to do, but we need you to bring it in just a little bit and then work on your pitch, your story, and how you're going to bring it full circle to get people to understand what you're trying to create.
Most of the programs here wasn't inclusive, and so we said we'll focus on helping founders of color. We also start at the beginning of the thing, at the idea stage, whereas a lot of the programs you see here locally, they start after you're up, and that's not very efficient unless if you don't have a lot of money, you can't recover from your mistakes. And the lean startup system, it actually helps you make mistakes faster before you spend a lot of money. You don't actually start building anything until you got customer buy-in.
There was a need for small businesses to bring brand awareness to their business. I see there's a lot of makers and bakers that they're making all of these goodies and these products, but they can't market it, they can't sell it at the same time, and there needs to be kind of that middleman, that middle person to help bring economic growth to some of the small businesses in Pensacola. So Taste of Pensacola, I came up with that idea during the pandemic when I saw things at that time that Amazon couldn't fulfill. They didn't even have those products, but the local people in the community, they did. And so there was a ton of people coming out saying, hey, I make masks. I'm like, wow, this is amazing. All the local people here that are just as talented that can actually make those products. And so I wanted to kind of showcase who they were. So with Taste of Pensacola, our income streams, we have several of them. We have the corporate America, we do corporate gifting, just regular consumers, different Pensacola natives that don't live here that want to purchase our boxes, like a taste of weddings, distribution. So we also do bulk sales. So for a private airline, if they want some local snacks and goodies on their passenger flights, they will come to Taste of Pensacola and we will source their vendors here locally. And we'll give a small business owner an opportunity to have reoccurring monthly sales. I've always had a really big vision for Taste of Pensacola. I knew that it could go beyond just local. I know that maybe other communities could possibly use the same platform that I'm trying to build. And I always have these big visions, but I never know how to even get there. Where do I start? I know it's more than, there's a lot of technical things behind it. I know there's a lot of research, but that connection, I never had it until, thankfully, I met and was introduced to Startups on the Blocks and was able to just learn more about how to grow it in terms of data. Things I just never thought about, framework, words like traction. There's a lot of things that I just did not know about and language that I need to know in order to get funding for my business. There's just a lot that I didn't know.
I would go to the stores and look online. They didn't have a wide variety of natural hair products about 8 years ago. And the ones that they did have, the ingredients, it would say that they were all natural. And when I would research the ingredients, a lot of the ingredients were not natural. I make everything, my shampoo, conditioner, I have an oil that I make, and I have 2 different separate butters. Like I had some people who were completely bald and grew their hair. It's about giving women their confidence back in their hair. If I have this salon and then I have a second salon, and I have my products in about 5 beauty supply stores. So I need a manufacturer to keep up with the demand at this point. Startup on the Blocks has helped my business grow, send me to different people. I'm able to do different pitch competitions to apply for grants in the community for small businesses. Lloyd's a really good person to connect with. He has a lot of resources here in the community that can help small businesses grow. If you have a product out there and you're trying to go big time, he's the person that you would want to meet with.
So it's really important to have some type of support because 9 times out of 10, most founders start out on their own. And to have somebody that has an idea of how the ecosystem works and is able to tap into other resources and bring back to the community, and that pretty much has encountered some of the roadblocks or going through the same roadblocks that we're currently going through and understands where you're at, your culture and how you respond to things, is a big help because you don't really have too many people that have access to what we have access to here in the community. And a lot of people believe that you have to leave and go to bigger cities to do the things that we're doing here. But I mean, it's one thing to have exposure, but you have to actually know it's here in the community in order to take advantage of the resources. So I get approached and I talk to friends all the time that wants to either start an idea or hear that I'm actually doing the app and wants to know more information about how are you doing it or what's the process, what's the path. I'm like, man, we have somebody here, Startup on the Blocks, Lloyd Richard, and Lloyd is here. He's a great resource to the community and to founders that's trying to learn the ecosystem. So join Startup on the Blocks.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Startup on the Blocks, Startup Founder Best Practices this week. We're glad to be here and looking forward to a good chat. Waiting on my guest to pop up backstage, but in the meantime, let me share some stuff with you all. All right. So I always like to give a big shout out to our partners and sponsors and all these different opportunities that are out there through our partners and for our partners, the ones that have organizations their members can get access to. So I'll highlight today startup science. This particular logo right here. Been getting a lot of updates from Greg Shepard, who created that platform, and they're really making it easy for founders to connect with all the different resources out there. They're actually putting them all in the platform. So if you haven't got on the platform, I'll provide a link here in a little bit so you can know how to get on that platform and take advantage of the opportunities in there. You got perks, you got pitch competitions, got all kinds of stuff. But the bottom line is it leads you through your process of going through all the different life cycle stages of your business and your startup and teaches you how to go from one stage to the next. It's just an amazing resource that we partner with them to provide to founders. And so I'll give another shout out to Coda.io. They're our partners for the Coda software, and it's pretty amazing. It's like a workspace where you can integrate other applications into it, and so all your documents that you create in Coda, you can actually they have the AI built in, and you can ask the documents questions and analyze tables and stuff like that. Hey, Daniel, how are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Okay, glad to have you here. Just doing a quick shout out to some of our partners. I was just talking about Coda. Yeah, had you heard about them yet?
Yeah. I've actually played around with Coda before.
Okay, good. So like we use it to kind of store all our founder data, all our student data, and so we we got 20 uh, students on our summer youth employment program, and so I like have a table with all their information in. So I asked Coda to analyze the table, and it created several ways to look at the data. So it was pretty neat. So it's nice to have have all that AI already built in, and then be able to pull in all those other applications in there. And the tricky thing about Coda, I always tell people this trick question, because they advertise it. They say 80% of the Fortune 100 companies use Coda.
Mm.
So that sort of makes you ponder why is these big companies using Coda? And so I'll let you all partner on that a minute. Pitch Bob for this is like an AI tool. Had you experienced it? Yeah, it's just like a little chat bot that leads you through, ask you a bunch of questions, then it develop all your startup documentation. Yeah, and so we have a partnership with them where we get their products and services at half price, but it also have a list of perks that you can get as a founder too, like 25,000 of Azure credits and stuff like that. So it's a pretty amazing resource for founders. Yeah. And I saw something recently that had got integrated to Slack, so you can literally talk to it through Slack as well. And Daniel, like I was telling you before, Lean Stack is our main founder program. That's a platform that we use to take the founders through. And these are some of the organizations we're a member of. Black Innovation Leaders of Florida and Black Innovation Alliance. We got a conference up in Detroit next week, so I'll be doing this broadcast from up there. Goody Nation, I can't say enough about them. They help founders with accountability. They got a really big community of Black and Brown founders. So it's an organization like yours, that's something you can actually definitely leverage as well, Daniel. Yeah. So it's goodynation.org is the company. And these are some of our sponsors that help, fund a lot of the stuff that we offer to founders. So that's a pretty neat thing. Okay. And I think next is you, Daniel. So if you take like 1 or 2 minutes to kind of just give a brief introduction to yourself. And you're muted.
Yeah, I'm muted now. So, but thank you so much for inviting me, Lloyd. It was such a pleasure to meet you when we did, and appreciate the space to chat and talk about whatever it is that we're talking about today. But essentially, yes. I am the president of and board director of Entrepreneurs of Tomorrow. And Entrepreneurs of Tomorrow is a 501c3 nonprofit. And our mission is to teach Black and Brown students how to solve problems through entrepreneurship and innovation. And excited that we are celebrating our 5-year anniversary this year. From thank you. From only sort of going to do one workshop all the way to 5 years where we have 2 programs and an amazing impact with the students is a dream come true for me. And essentially what Entrepreneurs of Tomorrow is, we have 2 programs, one of which is a youth entrepreneurship focus where we have an incubator, 6-month incubator, where up to 10 youth-led businesses get to experience what it is really means to launch a business. And they're able to be coached by our mentorship network, our curriculum, and they get a really fun opportunity to pitch the top 3 at least, because not everyone wins the trophy, and that's real life. The top 3 gets to pitch at the end of that program, which is on Giving Tuesday on December 2nd, to battle it out for top prizes. So really excited about that program. And the second part of what we do at Entrepreneurs of Tomorrow, we have an internship program, externship for students. And this year we're going to support 200 students. So we're excited about excited about that. And we give other opportunities for people to volunteer, because we're a volunteer-based organization, and we have our volunteer professional program, which is essentially an adult
Okay.
internship, and
Yeah.
it's been amazing the amount of talent that comes through there. And we do a lot of advisory boardships, and some CEOs, founders, really looking for opportunities to give back to the next generation. So it's been interesting to build and develop this community over the last 5 years. So we've had over 200 volunteers so far, and
Wow, that's a
we're
lot.
going to continue to drive it and see what we can do in this space to really give opportunities for folks who don't normally get an opportunity to do this work. And on the for-profit side, I am the founder of WFH Studio, and essentially it is a creative business studio. And this is for-profit, so this is how I make money.
Okay, got
And essentially, what we do is we manage the business for master creators. And these are folks who are doing fantastic work in the industry. So we work with companies like Netflix, Universal, National Parks Department for the U.S., and Puma and Spotify. So we've worked with a lot of different organizations to help them with a lot of their creative projects. So we do key art. So that's like the intersection of creativity and advertising. So we do a
Okay.
lot of billboards, out of home, digital sort of videos for different movies. Like, for example, we did a spot for the Super Mario Brothers movie when that came out a couple
Okay,
years ago.
gotcha.
So really excited about that work, and we're going to continue to grow that business. So that's a little bit about me.
Yeah, that's actually a lot, but we'll dig into that, both of those things a little deeper there. And so I got a couple more slides I want to show real quick, and then we'll dive a little deeper into some of that stuff. Yeah, so I wanted to, and so like if you, in your case, like so are the applications still open for your program?
Yeah. So we are interviewing, or we're in the recruiting process. So we're taking applications, and we're going to start interviewing next week, all the way to probably right till the beginning of the program. So the new cohort for our youth entrepreneurship incubator, where we work with high school students and then also college students
Yes.
who are looking to either launch an idea or have support with a current business. And so if you know of anyone or any youth led business or a founder who, never really had the opportunity to be in an incubator program, please let me know. And I'll definitely share out the link.
Yeah. You can post that while I'm going through these last couple of slides here. Yes. So I thought about your program because our program application is open right now for our business model design class, and so it's basically an opportunity to stress test your business idea, but also if you got an existing business, it's a good way to help with the growth of the business as well. And so basically, we leverage the AI to help people get through the training, because if they're new to the business world, we use AI to kind of help them with that. But the folks that are established, we help them understand how to actually grow their business. But it's basically broken down into this idea where you stress test your idea for desirability, viability, and feasibility. And it's a fun class because there's definitely a lot of real world examples and to kind of help people get through it. But this is a link is just apply.kakuainstitute.org. And this is simple. All it is, you're taking a class. But the good news is the Florida founders, they actually can get, we're going to do 3 founders too, where we're going to that at the end will be awarded $1,000 each. So, but it's just an opportunity to work on your business idea, your business model. and just to kind of grow. But it's we have, in addition to the AI mentors and agent coworkers, we also have real certified lean stack coaches as well. We got 3 level 3 coaches and about 8 or 9 level 1 coaches on that. So it's just you get all the coaching, more coaching than you ever could use to get through the program. But people get so much clarity about their business idea and how to grow their business um, through that this lean stack platform. So it's yeah. And generally, we do the Startup Founders Best Practice thing every Thursday. We've been doing it. This August will be 5 years, and so but it's all about helping the founders design scalable business models, so they can pitch those business models to recruit people to help them, or to understand how to fill out the applications for pitch competitions and different programs, and just understanding that kind of stuff. We use the startup science thing, so the startups. No, I guess to understand the life cycle, but we use the lean stack so the startup founders can understand the milestone that their startup needs to reach, and so that's kind of the kind of there. But I guess once you learn how to pitch a business model, you kind of unlock all these resources out in the ecosystem, and that's for a lot of founders, that's kind of hard to believe that there are a lot of resources out there. I guess that's a good question for your program. They go through your program, but what do you do to help them, get additional funding, and do you? So because I guess in our case, what we do is we maintain a database of opportunities, and we start to tell them where to look to get additional support. So how do you all handle that? I was just thinking about that.
Yeah. So our program is very educational, focused and
Okay.
based. Essentially, as a part of the program, each of the students or the youthpreneurs or the founders, there is a grant that they get at the completion of the program. So that's
Okay.
one way that we support with helping them continue on, but is more so as a recognition for the work that they did. And then the pitch competition, which I spoke about earlier,
Yeah.
there are top prizes that they can basically compete for. But the beauty of the program, and it's interesting how we've sort of built a community around this. There's a lot of visibility that comes with being a part of the program, and the mentors that we have involved in the program, from the vice presidents at Coca-Cola to VPs at Gucci, and our first chairman of the board, as I was sharing with you, Lloyd, when we talked the other day, was
Yeah.
the former deputy secretary of education under Obama administration. So we just sort of have a really strong network. So we don't have to do anything else but give the stage, right? And if any of these folks, whether it be hedge fund owners, are interested in a founder, they definitely reach out to me, or they connect through any of our events.
Okay. Fantastic. And so you would like what I could see the strategy with your program. If you got a lot of big companies or corporate companies that are participating in your program as mentors, that's actually valuable connections for the young people to kind of grow their business. That's really
Yeah.
fantastic.
That's what's made it pretty competitive, because
Yeah.
that's literally what you need, right? A lot of
Yeah.
people cannot get access to those sort of folks,
Yeah.
so it's been a blessing for me to use my network. Me working for companies like Target and Amazon and FanDuel, I basically calling my friends to help us help our students out.
That's fantastic. Leveraging the network. That's really great. So I mentioned we have a couple of other programs. Patent Hacks. It's a patent and trademark training program, and we also have some scholarships for filing for patents and trademarks. And also, this co-founder, we're part of a Make Startup, and they offer this co-founder OS program, and it's a AI-driven, thing where the founder can understand. Like, let's say you have to fill out an application for something. So in co-founder OS, it'll actually grade how well you answer the question, and then give and teach you how to answer the question thoroughly and correctly. Because a lot of people, just when they fill out an application, they put what they think that they wants to know, but they don't understand the folks out in the ecosystem. They expect them to hear certain things. That they don't hear them, then that's that the founder doesn't get the opportunity to participate in the program. So that's a great resource. Yeah, and this is a little bit more detail about the patent hacks thing, and you can get access to that if you go to our website, cocoainstitute.org, and just click on the Get Started page, and the link to patent hacks is there, and you can get access to the training. We have a couple of AI agents, one's for the patents and one for the trademarks, that if you got any questions, you can ask the agent that. And so during our networking on Thursdays, you can come in and ask questions, and then on Saturdays I do office hours from one to 3. Yes. Mm-hmm. Okay, and so I think I'll stop there. But I hope that gives you an idea of what's our approach to working with entrepreneurs, and trying to go through the different phases. And this is kind of like I had 2 people today bring up go-to-market strategy. So our startup science program, it's all about going through these different phases. And so what I always mention to people, the guy who created the startup science program, he's had 12 exits, told him several $1 billion. So everything he learned about starting companies and having exits, he put it in the training program. So that's available. We make that available to founders as well. And like I said, the lean stack, it's all about these milestones, problem, solution, fits, and all the way up to product market fit. So that's the neat thing about that. So let's dig into how you was able to establish the nonprofit and your for profit thing. So let's go with the nonprofit one first. And I heard you talk earlier about the places you work. How did any of that influence you wanting to do the nonprofit, or your for-profit company?
Yeah, I think every experience in life it's sort of like part of the journey, right?
Yeah.
I think in terms of what inspired me, I come from a family of entrepreneurs, and when I think about my grandmother, who is from St. Lucia, the island of St. Lucia, and ever since I could remember, she was selling things.
Oh, wow. Okay.
She was selling things, and I remember growing up in Brooklyn. My grandma would come buy a barrel, and if anyone is Caribbean, they would understand the barrel culture.
Okay.
Go to Bobby's, and I don't know if Bobby's is still around, but it was basically like a 99-cent store in New York that a lot of people went to, and she would just buy all of those different things. So that was my first exposure to how she thought about wholesale, because on the island everything was just so much more expensive, and there was it's way more affordable. And what people used to do is fill up barrels and send it to their families on the island. So that's what she used to get the things over there, and she would sell it in the market. So I would just always remember her being very resourceful in that way, and also my granddad as well.
Okay,
just make dolls and really ornate sort of design. So I guess that's also part of the creativity that I have as well. And then my other grandmother, my late grandmother, she was also an entrepreneur. I lived with her for about 2 years when I was in the fourth grade,
Okay.
and she had a couple of different businesses. She was an amazing master baker, so she used to create wedding cakes, and her cakes were just fantastic. And people used to fly her all over to Europe, to US, from the island of St. Thomas to build
Mhm.
wedding cakes with fountains and stairs, and she was just so creative. But that was a big business for her. She also
Okay.
had a daycare. She also had an
Oh,
upholstery business.
yeah,
So
the
she was
empire.
always doing stuff. And my grandfather was an architect, her husband, who
Okay.
he just turned 90 last year. So we're
Wow.
really grateful for Grandpa George. So I come from a family of entrepreneurs. My dad also had businesses. I was his administrative person when he started a health food delivery business when I was younger.
No
So
food
it was
delivery.
just it was in the
Yeah,
blood.
yeah, gotcha. Gotcha. So what was your career trade? What was that? What did you study, and what did
Yeah.
you work? I heard you worked at all those different companies. What were you doing for
Yeah, and it's really short. I studied business management and finance.
them?
I
Okay.
wanted to be a teacher, and my late mom, she passed away this year in February. So,
Sorry to hear that.
I'm grateful for all that she's poured in to me. But the story was that I wanted to be a teacher, and she
Okay.
said, "No, you're not going to do that. They don't make any money."
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So I said, okay. So I went and focused on business management and finance, and with a minor in accounting. And it was just really trying to figure out a corporate job. So my first job out of college was a manager, which they call the executive team leader of apparel and accessories for Target. And
Okay.
that's where I learned leadership and how to manage a team, a retail
Okay.
team, and that was just an amazing experience. And through my career at Target, got promoted a bunch of times, and I'll skip all of those details. But I became an HR business partner, managing 8 stores out in the Hudson Valley and also
Okay.
1 store in Jersey. So that gave me a scope of how to sort of run a business within a business. And at my district, our revenues were about 300 million for those
Okay.
8 stores.
Yeah.
So, and I was in charge of people strategies. So
Got
understand my scope is a people and how do you
Okay.
build organizations.
Got
So I was in charge of people and culture. So that's anywhere from the entire recruiting life cycle to training and development, leadership development. And then part of my remit was my bonus was determined of how many people got promoted and how we were sort of growing the people business. How
Gotcha.
Target
Gotcha.
talked about it.
Yeah.
So yeah, so it spent 7 years in Target. So a lot of people don't spend 7 years at a place anymore, but I spent 7 years at Target. Moved over to Amazon, was a senior HR business partner,
So
where
hold on just a second.
Mhm.
Um, so having a metric for your bonuses or advancement was your ability to, grow people.
Yeah.
I've never heard that. So was that something unique at Target?
I mean, this is a couple of companies do that, so I've seen that because I've been at a couple of companies. But as a part of not only mine but the leadership, right?
Yeah.
And we always taught great leaders create great leaders,
Okay.
and that was and I'm grateful for that training at Target to this day, where they really drilled in you the importance of leadership and you really train your team.
Okay.
And because when you build a great team, the profit comes after, right? The revenues come after. So I was grateful to be able to learn that.
So how does that help you with the teenagers and the college students?
I mean, just that, I
Yeah.
learned how to build training programs. I learned
Okay.
how to interview and identify talent. I
Okay.
learned how to place talent in um, the right roles for them
Got
to be successful, right?
Gotcha.
Because if someone fails at their job, it's
Yeah.
my fault. So that's sort of, but that was my upbringing in corporate, and I'm grateful for that, because if my business fails, if someone who works for me, it's not their fault. It's mainly my fault. And if they're a problem, we sort of take care of that really quickly, right?
Gotcha.
And then moving to Amazon, which is
Okay.
very different, right?
Yeah.
Where it was fast paced and the growth was insane. And one thing I learned at Amazon: don't attack people, attack the process. And that's something that I really took to heart. Where it's, it's very easy to blame someone for something
Right.
happening, but if it's not working and a couple of people are not being successful at that, we may want to look at the process, right? So that was something I learned, and I learned the process of Kaizen, which is a Japanese process where it's about continuous improvement. So. So what I tell young people and a lot of adults and anyone who wants to be a founder, I got paid to learn. And I got paid to learn from the smartest people, from the top companies in the world, And I was really grateful to make a lot of money in corporate, but then also use some of those skills to figure out how do I actually stand something up for myself.
Yeah, so so how do you kind of relate that philosophy, this learning philosophy to the students and stuff like that? And I guess you probably use the same philosophy in your for-profit company.
Yeah, so I think it's just around how do you solve problems?
Yeah.
And there's many different philosophies, but I think how we design our training programs, how we sort of approach making sure that we build things for the specific audience. And in our curriculum, my co-founder is an educator, and one thing I've learned is that if I don't know how to do something, find someone that do know how to do it way better than me.
Gotcha.
And the pedagogy that we use for the curriculum is reality pedagogy. So it's like making sure that the students see themselves in the content, and which goes a long way, because schools were not designed for people like me or who look like me.
Yeah.
So that's, having those experiences, dropping out of school at one point in high school, getting kicked out of my house at 16, all of those experiences shaped me to who I am, and sort of teaching how do you be independent and how do you solve problems, whether it be personal problems or business problems, because they're all intertwined.
Yeah, so like that thing about, you said you get paid at Amazon. It's almost like you're getting paid to learn. I just this stamp. Yeah, and so one thing, so you call it discontinuous improvement. Yeah, and so in the Lean Stack platform, Ash calls it continuous innovation. You're always trying to learn, and so and it also and the way he explains it, and I don't think he was original with this, but your competitive edge right now is how fast you can learn, because all these big companies got all these tools. So the key is that you have to continuously innovate and continuously do experiments so you can actually learn faster, and respond faster.
Yeah, absolutely. It's definitely, how fast can you learn? How fast can you fail? Because that's where the learning happens. Whichever happens first, right?
Yeah.
For sure.
Okay, you're learning from what you're doing, I think. Yeah. Yeah. So I think that's definitely is a valuable skill, and to have the opportunity to work at the companies to kind of learn these skills. So
Yeah, absolutely.
the biggest takeaway.
And not all companies are that way. And I'm very grateful to, going to Amazon from a Target. Target was about excellence, exceptionalism, and all those different things. They scored things red, yellow, green, and you want to be green or you'll be fired. So I learned, process and best practices and how to build that at Amazon, it was the opposite. It was more about how do you fail, and how do you build processes and systems in order to correct a lot of those things that business, to fulfill those business objectives. And it was
Yeah.
very fast paced, and it was very entrepreneurial,
Yeah.
from the first level managers to, and in even how they did compensation structures. A janitor could buy into some of stock options and et cetera. So
Yeah.
I learned a lot about how do you build systems to motivate people to drive your business objectives and align all of those. So that was really great. And at FanDuel, when I worked for FanDuel, most recently, I guess you would say,
Yeah.
is I took a lot of those skills because we were launching new businesses within FanDuel, right? And it was really cool to have those experiences where you're getting paid to actually be an entrepreneur inside of a company.
That's fantastic. So would you, for people that don't know what FanDuel is, could you explain, what their business is all about?
Yeah. So FanDuel is the #1 sports betting app in the U.S. So if you know anything about sports betting, people think FanDuel is just the fantasy leagues, or it's the business has grown way bigger than that. There's Sportsbook, which is more in the casino side, is a technology company overall, and how FanDuel expands is an entertainment company. So there's many different facets of FanDuel. And what I was tapped to lead is to be the senior manager over of human resources to help stand up FanDuel TV, which was a new vertical within that business.
Gotcha. Yeah. And so, so what were some takeaways from FanDuel? We kind of heard about the takeaways from Target and Amazon. So what were some of your biggest lessons learned working for FanDuel?
Yeah, I think I think I just unlearned what's possible, and FanDuel, where that business is, it is sort of like pre what the regulation is gonna be.
Okay.
So it's a small business, big business because it's in the billions, but it's not even scratching the surface of how that business can be. And I learned how to sort of work with different folks who are working in government to unlock certain opportunities for us. And I learned how to sort of reduce stand up a department and then reduce it and reorg an entire organization. So I got to really do some fun things there, and I stayed there for a short time. That was my remit, to stay there for a short time, but I learned that people sort of buy into different motivations, and the FanDuel business is around entertainment. And even though it's, gambling and, all the things that I learned growing up in church not to do, I really learned how do you stand up a business off of different motivations of your customer base.
Yeah. So basically, you took what you learned from those 3 different organizations and applied it to your Entrepreneurs of Tomorrow nonprofit, and to your. So, what was the name of your other for-profit company again?
Yeah, WFH Studio, and it's basically the acronym for work from home, because we launched it in the pandemic, and it basically was a party that we did to raise funds for creative artists who lost a lot of jobs at the beginning, the top of the pandemic. And we were doing just fun things and for the community. And the brands that I used to work with, I used to be a head of partnerships for a magazine at one point. So I used to be pitching a lot of companies and really creating mutual beneficial relationships for that magazine. So I learned a lot about how to pitch and how to sell in that way.
Gotcha.
and how to storytell around something, whatever it is that we're pitching. And so that's a little bit about, when we created that party, companies started reaching out to us because we created something that was solving a problem in the
Gotcha.
heat of this time that no one knew what to do and what the future
Gotcha.
was going to be. And it was all about mission driven work. And brands started reaching out to us. And WFA Studio was not actually WFH Studio. It was just a hashtag, and it was a hashtag WFH party. And essentially, they asked us to produce virtual events because a lot of nonprofits and companies still had to do their galas. They still had to do a lot of other programming, and they didn't know quite how to do it. So I was using Zoom and creating experiences with creative people to solve that problem for them. And 5 years later, we're now a whole entire creative business studio that does way more complex work with these companies. But that's how we started. We started based on solving our problem for people, and the business then sort of grew from there based on what the needs were from those audiences.
So would you say the creative stuff is more around it's all about marketing or brand recognition?
Yeah. I mean, it's like marketing. It's basically storytelling and utilizing storytelling to sell an idea or sell a product. So yeah, it's definitely in that space.
Gotcha. So the creatives that you have involved in that, or do they tend to be people that work with videos, artists, or
Across the board, yeah. We have master creators or designers who are designing billboards, and video folks who are editing and creating beautiful works of art. We even created 2 short films. So we're overall in the creative space, and we also do experiential. So how do we bring the right people together to promote people's businesses or to sell an idea? We did an art show and we 75% sold through. So it's all around the creative business space.
Yeah, that sounds very, very, very interesting. So, but it sounds like, to me, it's, I'm scratching my head because I'm trying to figure out the revenue model, but it's more like do you come up with ideas for the products or services, or does your customer say, I wanted to do something, and then they just leave it up to you all to come up with it?
It's a partnership. It's a services business, essentially, right? So that's the product. And so we collaborate with our clients to fulfill whatever the brief is, right? So if they say, hey, we have a new product coming up and we want you to be overall strategy. So if it's a strategy, then that's just a different bill, right? If they say, hey, we have the strategy, but we want to execute on this creative work in a video or a photo campaign or a package design, then we will sort of do that. So it just really depends on the needs of the client.
Gotcha. So, how do you leverage technology with that particular business? So I know you leverage for the creativity part, but how do you leverage it for the people part and dealing with your customers?
Yeah, I mean, in so many different ways. So from the creative part, there's so many tools that we use to create works of art, right? And depending on if it's a design or a video person, there are different equipments and camera style lenses. So you sort of have to understand technology in a way, depending on the industry, on how do you deliver on certain quality of a service. Editing tools, there's a lot of AI and just technology overall in those editing tools for years, right? This is not new for us. It's becoming more generative, right? But we've utilized AI, we've utilized different technologies to make things easy in a design process. And now it's even going faster, right? So we're going to need probably less steps in order to get to the final product so that we can ship way faster now with technology.
Gotcha. I've noticed that because the video editing tools I use,
Mhm.
I don't know anything about video editing, so I use the one that AI enable, like Descript.com and Eddie AI. Had you came across that yet?
Yeah, so I am such an early adopter. So I
Yeah,
just try things, the free trials, and play
yeah,
around with it if I have the capacity to do so. So I'm
yeah,
just really interested in what's next, and
yeah,
it's the tools are just developing so quickly,
yeah, yeah,
and I want to make sure I'm along for the journey, because
gotcha.
if there's something that
Yeah,
helps me be more productive, I'm definitely here for
yeah.
it.
Yeah, so I mentioned hey Eddie AI because that storytelling thing really has helped me out a lot with the
Mhm.
video stuff, and I just thought that, and I did notice they're gonna give away like a whole year uh, license of hey Eddie for people who are gonna do create some type of documentary or something like that. I can't remember how many they're going to give out, but it's quite a few. But so you have to apply, and so. But I was definitely an early adopter of that when it first came out. That and they
Mhm.
just literally kind of grew there. But your background, yeah, I don't remember you saying anything that about this artistic or creative side, but I know, and you have to be creative on all those different jobs you had. But so how did all that come about?
It's interesting. I mean, I think I'm just always a creative person. I grew up
Yeah.
singing, and I was a manager of a gospel group when I
Okay.
was early 20s, you know,
Yeah.
and I was producing concerts at that time, and that was the first time I did that. So I think now thinking back, I was like, wow, all of those things were me testing
Yeah.
ideas and testing things out,
Gotcha. Gotcha.
where it sort of helps me be able to be a producer on a film, you know,
Yeah.
and now I could say award winning film producer, right? Because
Gotcha.
some of the films that we created won awards
Yeah.
in the festival circuit.
Gotcha.
I remember before the first like official film that was not just a cool project to do.
Yeah.
I remember asking some experts in the space, because in New York City, you get to meet so many people and you build
Yeah.
really strong networks. They said, "Hey, you want to be a background actor?" So I remember signing up and figuring out. They taught me how to be able to do that, and that's
Okay.
where I learned. I was on the set with When They See Us. I was on a lot of CW show sets, and that's how I was learning and
Yeah.
seeing how do they structure their teams, how do what tools are they using. I was just
Yeah.
really also getting paid
Okay.
to
Yeah.
learn, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I remember seeing some folks that I know from the industry. They were like, "Daniel, what are you doing here?" I was like, "Mind your business."
Yeah.
But they knew of me outside in the outside world, but they were like, "Hey, I'm just trying to be an actor." I was like, "No, I'm not trying to be an actor. I'm trying to learn about this process." So
Yeah.
I would give advice: put yourself in situations where you can be the recipient of knowledge.
Yeah, yeah, that's really a good point there. But I think from what I've been hearing through this conversation is that um, that you learn a bunch of things, but you was always interested in learning, and now you're applying those skills to the nonprofit and to the for profit business.
Yeah, because I'm not interested in to knowing how to draw.
Yeah,
That was never like I did want to be a fashion buyer at one point, so I worked for
yeah,
Giorgio Armani for a little bit, in an internship, and they gave me a
yeah.
job after. But I know that I always wanted to be in the business side of it, into
Yeah,
structure, and I think that's also creative. So
yeah,
I found where
I
my
agree. Yeah,
creativity lies. You know.
yeah, that's really fantastic. So like um so a lot of entrepreneurship ties both of those things. So you you saw your grandparents, doing entrepreneurship stuff. Yeah, and so how do you feel about is that why you saw that when you were a kid. Is that's why you're part of the reason why you focus on the young people now?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I believe so. And I'm just really interested in understanding the racial wealth gap, right?
Okay. Okay.
And Entrepreneurs and Tomorrow really came about because it was a conversation with my friend. And
Okay.
he was a director of an after school program and a summer school program. And he was saying
Gotcha.
that 70% of his students were not at the right math and reading level.
Gotcha.
So I was like, really? And I thought it was just a slur on words. And so that sparked an idea. I was like, what can I do to impact this, right? Because obviously, if they're not at the right level in grade school, that's going to impact their earning potential in the future.
Gotcha.
So it really was something to solve a problem, and it was just supposed to be one event. And the more people I talked to, that's how it grew into what it is right now. So
Gotcha.
I basically sort of follow the problem and what
Mhm.
I can do to impact that problem,
Gotcha.
because that's where the money is. The money is in the solution for problems that people are not trying to solve as yet.
Gotcha. Okay. Gotcha. So that wealth gap is a pretty challenging thing. So, but you see the entrepreneurship as a way to kind of
Part of
get
it,
through.
yeah.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
most wealth is built when people work for companies, right? And that's a
Okay.
reality. And I was able
Yeah.
to understand that, right? Because
Gotcha.
how my compensation was structured at Amazon was heavy on the sign-on bonus, heavy on the equity, and you made six figures, but it was like heavier on the equity piece, right? And
Yeah.
by the time I left Amazon, that's what funded my first business, because that
Okay.
was a while ago, and that stock rallied so well. so
Yeah.
so I understand wealth is built in that way.
Gotcha.
So my perspective on entrepreneurship, and I remember when entrepreneurship became more popular,
Yeah.
and people were like, um, I don't want to work in corporate. I want to be an entrepreneur. I'm like, I don't think that's the perspective here, because
Mhm.
most wealth is actually built if someone works for a major corporation. And we're not talking about like small companies. We're talking about major companies, right?
Yeah.
That actually you can build equity within
Yeah.
that companies.
Yeah.
You
That's
know,
it.
so I teach that. And a lot of my students, I know they're probably maybe not going to be founders, right? Or may do some entrepreneurial things, but they're going to be entrepreneurs in the companies, right?
Mhm.
And some of our interns, they now work at Amazon now. They now do their, our one of our high school students in our first program, she was building student organizations within her campus, right? So I think those skills are really important, and it's about how do you solve problems creatively.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Yeah. So yeah, that's definitely. I don't know what I would have did in my life if I didn't have the opportunity to be creative. Yeah.
Mhm,
'Cause,
mhm.
yeah. Yeah. It's so because that's life is about making things better. You know.
Correct.
And helping people get more skills and to grow and do more. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And and I think it's also I think one of my and then leaning on your strengths, right? Because my superpower is I'm a builder, but I'm also a connector, right?
Yeah.
And I've maybe is the personality of my dad or my family. He was
Okay.
always connecting, or maybe it's the personality of my mom, always connecting with people, always looking for interesting skills and talents and personalities and folks. And so we grew up with a whole bunch of misfits, right? And I
Yeah.
mean, they would come to our house for dinner. So I think that was just part of
Mhm.
me understanding diversity of thought,
Yeah.
and being interested in that.
Yeah.
Which a lot of people only like to be around people who think like them, which is
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah.
And I'm the opposite. So I think that has served me well, where my network is, I didn't plan it to be that way, but it just so happens when you're good to people and you're interested, truly, genuinely interested in what people are doing, that's how you sort of build your network. My first one of the first mentors that I remember, he went to my church, and he was in finance. That's all I knew. And I said,
Yeah.
hey, can you help me with my resume? And I was a 17-year-old boy. He said,
Mhm.
meet me in my office. And then I didn't even know what Goldman Sachs was, right?
Yeah.
And I met him in the office in Goldman Sachs, and he basically ripped my resume apart. And I was like, oh my God, I don't know how to do anything. But that was the first time when he showed me, hey, this is probably what you need to think about in writing your resume, right?
Yeah.
So those formative experiences shape how I even approach working with students today.
Gotcha. Good. Yeah, that's really fantastic. So like I was trying to kind of see. So like I see your entrepreneurship program and your for profit programs is is basically all about connecting with major corporations and yeah and so that sort of tied to you. So you saw a pattern where you're working at those major companies, and as their companies grew and you were participating in their stock plans or retirement plans, you were able to accumulate some wealth that way.
Blessed and grateful,
Yeah.
and Neil Gordon, that's his name. That was the mentor that he's now a CEO of some amazing company. I don't know the name of it, but
Yeah.
he said that your resume is your brand.
Yeah.
And that was the first time I didn't even know if he used the word brand, but this is the
Uh-huh.
language we use today.
Yeah.
And he said, like, you have to start from your internships. So my
Yeah.
internship was the Federal Reserve Bank, and he's like, good. And then I lived in the Career Center at Brooklyn College. So I didn't go to Ivy League or HBC or
Yeah.
anything like that. I went to Brooklyn College, and they said, hey, because you go to Brooklyn College, you don't have the shiny school. So you're
Yeah.
going to have to build your things with experiences. And I got
Yeah.
into college. I think a friend of mine who's older than me, who's like my sister to this day. I started college when I was kicked out of my house, right?
Yeah.
When I was younger. So I chose companies to do internships because I was like, this is going to unlock another opportunity for me. So I
Gotcha.
did Giorgio Armani, I did the Federal Reserve Bank, I did MTV. So I knew I was like, I have to get bigger brands in order to
Gotcha.
shape my reputation.
Got it.
So I understood that at a very young age, and I
Yeah.
think that probably carried out where it's not about me targeting companies in that way. That's literally my network because those are companies that I work for,
Yeah.
and
So
you know.
yeah. So like so like we work with older founders. So um so and a lot of different industries and stuff like that. So
Mhm.
but what kind of, based on your experience, what type of advice you would give them, based on your background and experience. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that is the best thing, right? Because
Mhm.
I just joined the 40 Club
Yeah.
less than a month and a half ago, right?
Okay.
So it's interesting the younger people saying like now I'm like the uncle, right? So
Yeah.
now I'm the unk, and I think the wisdom that I've been able to sort of acquire is
Hmm.
my superpower. So someone who is older in age than me, there's just so much wisdom there. And then what I realize is like how much I don't know.
Yeah.
So my superpower is building teams.
Yeah.
So learned the power of how do I build teams around me that is able to unlock new opportunities to be able to do things I don't know how to do. So the advice I would give to older founders is that don't try to know everything. It's
Yeah.
impossible. It's stressful,
Yeah.
and your brain capacity could be used building relationships, teaching, and creating mutually beneficial opportunities for people to learn and grow. That's how I started every single one of my business. I was able to identify, okay, what does that person need? And if I'm able to create an opportunity that helps them, but it also helps me, that is great. And that's how I was not able to pay salaries for a very long time
Hmm.
until we got the money so that people built it sort of built equity, right? Because I knew how to build internship programs. I
Uh-huh.
knew how to create a job description and a role. So just start where you are and use the skills that you have and exploit them, you know?
Okay. So like oh, this you mentioned you had to do a lot of pitching in one of your career things. Which one was that you had to go out and pitch ideas and stuff like that?
Well, all of them, but with my job was I was the head of partnerships for a small magazine called The 10, and it was an
Uh-huh.
LGBT magazine, so it's very
Mhm.
niche, and it was an
Uh-huh.
LGBT magazine that focused on Black people across the diaspora. So
Okay.
that was my first idea and exposure of thinking about a global sort of
Yeah.
movement where we were selling ads in a book, right?
Yeah.
And we were getting sponsorships to do cool parties on the beach, or we were. So that's where I learned. I said, "Oh wow, Ace Hotel needs this cultural capital."
Yeah. Okay.
So that's what they need from us because they're not cool, right?
Right.
So so me and my friends are cool, and a lot of people I know are cool. So how do we create an experience and curate an event that is done very well,
Yeah. Yeah.
and be able to put a price tag on that as to what is the value of that. And I
Gotcha.
got way more no's than yeses. And it was
Gotcha.
interesting in the pandemic when after George Floyd was murdered,
Uh-huh.
they remembered me because they said no to me, and they try to undercut me. Some big brands, like I knew
Yeah.
working for the corporations, I knew what the budgets were, right? So
Yeah.
that was a good insight. So when I was on the other side pitching and they were saying, no, oh, can you do this for me? And I was like, oh, okay, got it. You're telling me this because I'm Black. You're telling me this because you think I'm dumb. So now I understand it. But when the pandemic hit and people were supporting Black businesses, all of a sudden they called me. So I was able to be the first in line for a lot of those opportunities.
Gotcha.
So I
Yeah.
think the no's are great because one, it teaches you to refine your pitches. It teaches
Yeah.
you what the market is, where to go, and all those different things. But also it sort of builds a network for you because those folks remember you if you
Yeah.
continue going.
Yeah. Did that pitching skill have you been able to translate that to the young people going through your program?
Yeah, so the program is a youthpreneur incubator, and the pitch competition is what rounds out that program. So
Okay.
we have a pitch course and module and workshops to teach them actually what's the mechanics of pitching
Yeah.
from the deck, or and
Mhm.
also to that actual in-person presentation.
So
And
yeah.
really working in the space of film a little bit, I realized a lot of acting coaches worked with CEOs and in
Okay.
how to actually present your message in a very clear way.
Mhm. Yeah. Okay. I got you. Yeah. So I think there's a lot of takeaways from this conversation, and I think they'll be valuable to a bunch of people. So
Let's go.
I'll kind of tell you, and so so this is how I would use hey Eddie with your so like with StreamYard, we're using StreamYard, so it actually um, is saving a copy of your video to your computer, and then it's going to upload it. But I could like take that video and edit it in Descript, but then I can bring that edited video over to Hey Eddie and create some stories from your video.
Oh, amazing. Yeah, I
Yeah,
remember WFA Studio. That's what we were using StreamYard, and we
yeah,
were using many different tools, but I remember using StreamYard when it was not as great yet.
yeah.
And
Well,
now it's definitely way better now.
yeah. So it's got a lot of things, but I got a feeling that when it comes time to renew my subscription, because I've been doing it for years, that there's probably going to be some too much competition out there for. But they're trying hard and keep coming up with some new things. But all these things are just pretty competitive these
Mhm,
days.
mhm,
But yeah, but well, I said that about your video. So when you hop off here, just make sure your thing finish uploading, so I can send that to you, and you know, you can use it if you like or whatever.
Oh, that'd be amazing. I appreciate that.
Yeah. All right. Well, we appreciate having you here, and I appreciate you opening up and sharing some stuff that could actually help founders. And I definitely could see, you
Mhm.
know, how, and I think it just drove the message home. Leverage your experience, you know, to move forward, you know, and that's kind of what I see with a lot of founders. They got a lot of information. You know, there's a lot of people out there that could be founders because they know a lot about the corporate world and they know about all these problems, but they may not know about the opportunity to get help with this ecosystem of organizations that help founders, you know, trying to solve big problems and help them to actually build that company and move forward. So I
Yeah.
just like people to take advantage of the opportunity to take advantage of the resource. But I also, this is my takeaway from the George Floyd thing, was all these opportunities came from that. But I know when it comes to money stuff, if you don't know how to pitch what you're doing and pitching how you're going to make money with your business, then that you wouldn't be able to get all that money that was set aside as a result of George Floyd. And so that was kind of our motivation for making sure founders can actually learn the best practices. And I'm amazed that people think they can just get away with just an idea and not a business model around that idea. You know,
Hmm. Hmm.
yeah,
Hmm.
yeah, it's literally amazing. And I've interviewed like probably close to 300 founders or more over the past 5 years,
Oh, wow.
and yeah, and so it it's and I'm running, and we get referred a lot of founders now that they got these great products, but they don't know how to sell them.
Hmm. Hmm.
And then so and that's what I like about the lean stack. It teaches you how to pitch your business model to get help to build what you're building, and
Yeah.
then it also teaches you how to get people to switch from whatever product or service they're using to what you're building. And so
Yeah, exactly, exactly. Yeah, I
yeah,
love that you said that. But like even making it even more simple than that,
yeah,
not everyone is going to be great at selling certain
right,
things, right? And that's the
yeah,
reality. I know where my limitations are,
yeah,
but I am great at selling people into my idea as
yeah,
well. So people who want to work with
yeah,
me or
yeah,
for me or
yeah.
alongside me. So everything is a pitch,
Oh,
right?
for
So
sure.
if
That's
you
exactly
really
right.
yeah, so if you think about, okay, I may not know how to access um, this major donor if you run a nonprofit,
Yeah,
right? Um, well, who are you pitching?
yeah,
So you want to make
yeah,
sure is that you're always refining your story,
yeah, yeah. So
and getting people on board with the idea because someone is going to be able to unlock different opportunities that you
yeah,
can't unlock.
that's
So
it.
I wouldn't say like themselves that, oh, I need to get good at this or I'm not going to be successful. No, you need to be able to just tell your story and,
Yes, yes,
and get better and better and better every single time you
right,
tell that
right.
story.
So
And the
like,
more you tell that story,
mhm,
the better you get. So
yeah,
if you're waiting for opportunities to come to you, no, you make those opportunities so that you can
yeah,
create that
yeah,
sort of practice for yourself.
yeah, and that's what I like about the Lean Stack platform. This idea of innovation is all about getting people to switch from what they're currently doing to what you have. So you have to learn what it takes to get them to switch. But in order to learn what it takes to get them to switch, you have to understand why they're using what they're using, and then learn from that to learn how, you know, it's just a thing. But it seems hard, but it's a process you go through, and I think people don't realize there is a process, you know, that you go through. And if you want to have a successful company, yeah, you need to have a great salesperson selling your product or service, that's that sales pitch that person is using, it's based on them understanding the problem and knowing what it takes to get that person to switch. And so
Exactly.
and that's actually included in our program. And I just hate to see so many founders moving along and building stuff and then have trouble selling. And even though it's the best thing in the world, but they don't know how to get people selling. And I guess I kind of struggle with selling the Lean Stack platform to help people understand this is a tool to do it. So I guess I better eat my own food here.
We all have to eat our own food, right?
Yeah,
Because and I think that's a good reminder, right?
yeah,
Because we have is a continuous improvement, as I was
for
sharing with
sure.
you,
Yeah,
for ourselves. Because the best we are at telling our own stories, it sort of empowers someone that works. If you
yeah,
don't know how to tell that story to that sales manager that's going to work for you,
that's
that
it.
their result is going to be,
Yeah.
really contingent upon what you shared with them.
Okay. Well, let's get off here and go enjoy the rest of the evening. And like I said, I appreciate you coming on. And next week, we're going to have a founder that's created an application that helps businesses with their cash flow. Staying on top of that. So
Amazing.
we're looking forward to that because nobody wants to get into a cash flow problem. All right. Well, thanks a lot, Daniel. We'll see you back soon and look forward to working with you.
Such a pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.
All right. Bye-bye, everyone.